All right, guys, another Prepared American here today. We are going to be talking about the 5 things that you need to have in the event of a storm. Major storm, minor storm, doesn't matter. You have to have these things. As recent events in my local area, which I'll cut to here soon, will show you what can happen, even if it's not common to your area. All right, guys, there you saw some of the damage from a recent storm, as well as a Facebook post talking about how 70%, and that's, a minimum figure. Probably some people weren't able to report outages, but it was something like, I think it said like 12 or 13,000 out of 18,000 people who are in the service area were affected by this outage. That's around 70%, which is crazy. Our area is not prone to windstorms or tornadoes or any really extreme weather at all. We're very fortunate that we normally get bypassed by most of it because of where we live. But this was not the case. This storm came out of nowhere, hit like a freight train, and then left just as quickly. It was here and gone in about 5 to 10 minutes. But in that time, it caused the damage that you saw: ripped roofs off of houses, knocked down more trees and power lines than I've ever seen in this area, and caused significant power outages. There's still people without power today. They're estimating it should be starting to kick back on today around noon to 10 p.m. But again, those are estimates. These guys have been working hard for the last 72 hours, just nonstop, just trying to get stuff back up. Started with critical infrastructure, of course, water treatment, things like that, to make sure the city doesn't go under, because the city is It's a medium-sized suburb. It's not really a suburb, but medium-sized city area outside of Baltimore. So, I mean, it's got a population of around 60,000. So, I mean, a lot of people were affected by this, and that doesn't include the surrounding area. All right, and this time I even took notes so that way I can stay on track. So, the first thing we're going to need that everyone was lacking from this recent storm was power. Different means of power, The old 2 is 1, 1 is none is truer than ever. So having power banks, so little portable power banks that you can take with you, whether you're out helping people recover or you yourself need help, but you don't have access to a generator, like you live in an apartment or something like that where you can't run a generator to power your stuff. Having a small electric generator, a solar generator, or a power bank to at least charge your portable devices is a godsend. That rolls right into having a large-scale generator. So I know tons of people who are complaining about not having power or having food go bad, and they were all asking me, hey man, what brand generator do you have? Which I'll be dropping a link in the description to the one I have. It's a dual fuel generator made by Champion, I believe. Runs on propane or gas. I've ran the fridge and freezer off of it multiple times, and we have had power go out a few times. We kind of live in the middle of nowhere, so when power goes out, you never know when it's going to come back on. And I've never had food go bad because normally I'm able to get ahead of it, luckily, and give power to those devices. Then in the realm of electricity, right, you need to have extension cords, and extension cords that are rated for the amount of power you're going to put through them. You cannot use the random janky, I'll insert a picture above me or beside me or something, of some sketchy looking extension cord. You need something that is heavy duty. The thicker gauge wire, so you want something that is a thick, heavy duty wire because it can handle more power going through it. It's not going to overheat. It's not going to catch on fire and then turn into a larger, more devastating problem for you if you've already been affected by something. Second thing that you need in an emergency of like a storm or tornado type thing is going to be gas and containers for that gas. So many people were flooding gas stations and freaking out trying to get gas for the generators if they had one because they didn't have it prepared. The worst time to try to do preparing or get ready for something that has already happened, which isn't preparing at that point, it's reacting, is after the fact. A prepared person has gas cans on hand in a safe, stable location, out of the sun, out of direct heat, with fuel stabilizer in them, especially coming out of the winter like we just were. The bird was loud. But yeah, so coming out of the winter, a lot of people either used up all their fuel and didn't have any stored, or they had fuel but it went bad because they left it stored for 6 to 9 months. They didn't really use it. You need to put fuel stabilizer and stuff for long-term storage. If you rotate through it regularly, like every 3 months, you don't have to worry about it. It's not going to go bad that quick. Allegedly, it's good up to a year, but again, depends how you have it stored, depends on how extreme your weather is. All right. Third most complained about thing that I noticed from this recent storm was water. So it wasn't people not necessarily out of water, it was people that didn't have any, or if they lived in a rural environment where they have some kind of well pump, they didn't have power. Your pump needs power, and they weren't exactly sure at first how to get that wired up to work. So being able to have either a transfer switch hooked up to your house, which I'll show a picture of, obviously get a professional to help you with electricity. I do a lot of things myself. Electricity isn't one of them, at least when it comes to my house and my everything else. Like if I don't want it to burn down, I get a professional, and that's a lot coming from me, but I would rather have peace of mind. So get a professional to consult with about doing a transfer switch, so you can just hit it and it conserves the most important thing. So you can have fridge, freezer, water pump, bam, plug in your generator, hook her up, and you're ready to rock. And you still have water and none of your food goes bad. But that also goes into cleaning things and drinking. So just having at least 3 days worth of water bottles and gallon jugs. You can get like the big water cooler jugs or whatever. They make little dispensers that you can make that are more convenient than the giant water coolers from an office to keep in storage. And then as soon as something goes wrong, you can just use them. Or you can cycle through them and get them refilled to get fresh water in them, because they do expire. Technically, it's the plastics degrading into it, so you can have them stored in a cool, out of the sun environment. That's great. But again, we know we work with what we got, so just rotating through stuff regularly. Fourth most complained about, it didn't really get complained about too much, but it got brought to my attention by my cousin. He was out shopping. He was just bored because power was out, and he did everything he was supposed to. He did it all right. He had everything prepared beforehand, had plans in place, which we'll get to. But he was at the local Walmart because they had power, and he was just picking up a few little things just because he was out and about. And power went out at the Walmart after everything was going on, because whenever they're restoring power, sometimes they have to shut off lines so they can work on stuff, and so it'll kill power to temporary areas in between. So the storm's over, it's been 16 hours, and then the power goes out in a block that affected the local gas station, the Walmart, that whole shopping center the Walmart's in. So no one has power, and he had cash. So he had a few dollars in his pocket, and he had a couple things, and he looked at him, he's like, hey, what do you want to do? They're like, well, we can't take cards because our system's down. He's like, that's fine, I have cash, see you never. And, went about his day. He wasn't really worried about the change or anything like that. He just wanted to get out of there because he knew people were going to start freaking out, as they do when the power goes out, especially when their baskets full of, milk, bread, and eggs, because that's what everyone buys when the power's out for some reason, just like in a snowstorm. If you know, you know. Fifth thing that we'll be talking about today is food. You need food to stay alive. I know, it's insane. Who would have thought? So realistically, on hand, you need to have 3 days worth of food in your house for any emergency. That is the bare minimum in my mind. That is what I tell every person that I do a class or consulting for. Whenever they're like, how do I get more prepared? I'm like, do you have food? Do you have water? Do you have power? These things are what keep us safe and fed. And in a survival situation, you need those things, because otherwise you won't survive. So here I have, just a little can of Campbell's chunky soup that eats like a meal. What a slogan. But it's got meat in it. It's got enough stuff, 21 grams of protein per can. This is a lot. I don't know if I'd be able to eat a whole can in one sitting, but Also have diced pears. Fruit is good to have on hand because it raises morale. It's sweet. It will keep kids happy. Obviously, I wouldn't recommend eating this stuff every day because it's loaded with sugar. It's horrible for you. But if it feels like your world is ending, some diced pears will go a long way for morale for your group. That being said, having more robust food is awesome. So having the Ready Wise or the Mountain House hiking meals, things like that, they're good to eat in emergencies because they're high in sodium, they're high in protein, which are things your body needs to keep running. I know, contrary to popular belief, your body needs sodium. It's how you retain water. Otherwise, you just pee it all out. And then obviously proteins run your body. We'll get into nutrition another time. I'll get a real professional, like a doctor or something on here to talk about it. But yeah, having those more robust meals with these things to take in a pinch, if you have to leave the house and you're like, oh, well, if I get stranded because a tree falls down, I'll have, 3 cans of soup that tastes like a meal in my car or something, that I took with me. I wouldn't leave it in your car because, again, you want to store all of this stuff in a shelf-stable environment. So, out of direct sunlight, cool, dry, those kinds of things is what you want to do. And then our final bonus thing is communications / a plan. So this is kind of like a 2-in-1. They go off of each other. So you can have a communications plan, which I use military acronyms for everything still, because for the most part, they keep things simple, stupid, and I'm simple and stupid. So I use PACE, the primary, alternate, contingency, and emergency method. And I'll have a little thing popping up, so that way if I said anything weird, you can read it in your own voice and vernacular. So our primary means of talking is our cell phones, right? So we use texting, phone calls, whatever. Well, when power goes out, phone lines could go down, or phone lines could physically go down if a tower gets knocked over, something crazy like that. A cell tower goes out, it's not good. So having that backup. So primary, alternate. So our alternate is going to be handheld radios, stuff like that. Things where it's short distance communication where I could talk to my neighbor. If you live in a more urban environment, you could talk to a few neighbors. You know them close, you just have a little radio, just even a little Walmart one. But realistically, a Baofeng UV5R is good enough. You can use them in emergencies. It doesn't matter what the FAA, what you think it says. You can use GMRS signals in emergencies specifically to communicate with people, and you'll get a little bit of distance out of them. Obviously, you're limited, but then that next step is going to be ham radios. If you are so inclined to go down that far, you can use ham radios to communicate longer distances, to get NOAA weather reports. You can also get those on the little hams as well. But yeah, you can get NOAA weather reports to figure out what's going on. You could try to get local news, depending if it has FM capability and if news stations are still up and have power. And then quickly going into emergency, you're just gonna be on foot, physically going to locations where people will be, churches, town halls, community centers, things like that is where people will gather, and that's where intelligence will be that you can gather to be okay, power's on here, power's off here. They have these supplies here, how can I help, or how can I be helped, until you can help someone else, because ultimately that's what we want to do. And that part of planning also goes into the rest of this. Having a plan, having all this stuff on hand is the most important part of being prepared. Preparedness does not happen in the moment. Preparedness is insurance for life that isn't a scam. I have this stuff on my shelf. I filter through it on days we're feeling lazy and don't want to cook, or we don't have groceries we didn't get to go grocery shopping when we wanted to. I'm like, hey, luckily we have tons of food here. We'll just make whatever. We'll whip something together real quick, and it makes it easy. Saves on grocery bills over time, and you don't have to do it all at once. You don't need to buy the $1,000 bucket you'll see in the Amazon description. You don't need that. I mean, if you have it, cool, good for you. But not everyone does, especially nowadays. Just buying the local deal. I mean, you go into Food Line and you see 2 for $4 on cans of food, or 4 for $5 or whatever. Get those deals. Do it a little bit at a time until you build up this collection where you have 3 days worth of food, 3 days worth of water, and then you'd be like, all right, cool, I feel good, I want to expand, or I just want to keep it around there. Again, if you live in an apartment or something, we can always work around it. But yeah, that's enough enough rambling. It just really got me going, seeing this, local emergency. I mean, that's really what it was. I mean, 70% of people without power is insane, and being able to hopefully help people in the future or help people in other areas be prepared for this kind of stuff is ideal. That's all I want for people. I just want everyone to be safe and make it out of these situations the best that they can. All that being said, as usual, stay hydrated, stay strapped, and stay blessed. Thanks, guys.